It's another Saturday morning here at the West End Gun Club. It's May 1st. I'm out here at the rimfire range. I came out here to finally zero in the new scope that I acquired for my Vudoo 22. It is the Zero Compromise Optic 5-27 MPCT3 Reticle. This is actually an empty box, but I just brought it out here with me today just as like a visual prop here. But it's already on the, I already put it onto the rifle, and we're gonna go ahead and sight that in. So it's gonna be a pretty casual morning, but I'm very eager to get that thing zeroed out and then just get some rounds through the gun while I have that scope on it and kind of get an impression of it. I've already messed around a little bit with the turrets and whatnot while I was at home throughout the week, but let's go ahead and get set up and we'll start shooting that thing. I did not bore sight this scope at home before I came to the range, but with the tolerances of the bases and the rings that I'm using and and the experience of my collar scope, the second I put the collar scope on, the windage was almost dead on. It's just the elevation needs to be adjusted. And based on what I'm seeing here with my bore line on a black target at 50 roughly, I'm just above it. So the windage should be dead on, almost like pretty close to it. So I remember with my callouts, I don't think I moved the no wind zero from factory center, like maybe a tenth of a mil. That was like the most I ever moved it. So it's amazing that when you have a well-built rifle, a custom rifle, a good barrel that's put on correctly, and all the stuff that you have on top, as far as the base, the rings, and the scope, it's amazing how well they can be put together when they're all in aggregate as far as everything being lined up correctly. So. But that's for 50, but we're gonna zero at 25. And I'm well above the target, I think, but we'll see. This is a 60-minute base. I'm using a 60-minute base with a Spuhr 6002. This is a 0 MOA 36 millimeter one-piece mount. So because the ZCO, if you're not familiar with the ZCO, 5-27, a Zero Compromise 5-27, they use 36 millimeter tubes. So that gives you that 35 mils of internal elevation adjustment, which is incredible. So hopefully I should be able to run 60 mils just fine. And I should have more than enough to get to 500 without holding above target. With my Collis, I tried to run the 60, but in order to have a 25-yard zero with this Collis K525i on this gun with a 60-minute base, I literally had to bottom out the scope or bottom out the elevation in order to even touch the 25-yard zero, which I wasn't really too comfortable with. I ran that for a little bit, like maybe a month or two, and I just went back to I got a 40 and I put that on there. But the whole goal of that is, the whole goal of running a 60-minute base is that I want to be able to shoot to 500 and maybe 600. Sorry, there's something flying around. Without having to hold above target, which is not, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, that's not a big deal because that's what your reticles are for, right? Because that's why we have those Christmas tree reticles. I want to maximize the scope, and that's kind of why I want to try a 60-minute base. And I was going to build a dedicated like ELR gun for rimfire, but when it came down to it, it's just a lot more money to spend, and I'd still have to buy another scope anyway. So I said, you know what, let's try to make this an all-purpose gun that I can use in NRL-22, and if I want to go shoot like ELR rimfire, I can go do it all with the same package. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here with the 60-minute base and this ZCO 5-27 with the 35 mils of internal adjustment. That's kind of like my goal here, because I don't want to. I would like to buy another Vudoo, but I just, that's just a lot of funds. Theoretically, I could right now. I got my Collis, which is not on a rifle right now. It's unmounted. I could theoretically spend another $3,500 to get another barreled action, probably their 60-minute or the 60-degree one they just came out with, the 60-degree bolt with 3 lugs from Vudoo, and then a new chassis, new trigger, etc. So I could do that, but I don't think I will. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this thing sighted in. We'll see where we go from here. So the first shot from this gun, I think it's about, I wish my target were level, but we're about 4 mils low, 4.2 mils low, and 1 mil left, or right of target rather. So let's just try 4.2, and then when that will come 1 mil left. Try it again. Okay. Maybe a 1/10 off, 2/10 off. We'll just shoot a group here. All right. Looks like we're settling in here. I can afford to come over 1/10 maybe. Let's try it. Let's try one more 1/10 left. So I'm zeroing today with Center X. The weather is a bit warmer today. It's gotten, this past few days in Southern California, it's hit 90 degrees in my area. So up here, I think it's about 70 right now, 70. It's gonna hit up to 85, I think. So warmer weather like this, you know, in the 70s and up, I'm gonna stick to Center X. But when it hits colder, like 60s maybe outside, 50s ambient, I will stick to SK long range match, simply because it's closer to my expected drops that I want for NRL22. It's easier for me to understand, like, hey, in colder weather I can run SK long range match and I'll only need 1.7 for 100, which is why I usually expect the Center X in the non-cold months. So it's kind of my ideology behind that. I know a lot of people will just simply adjust their zeros for those days, but I'm just gaming it. Plus it's only out to 100 yards, so it just, you know, it's not like serious shooting. It's not serious shooting. It's not like it's very in-depth shooting as far as long range and accounting for a drop. So I don't know, it's just my own way of doing it. You may find yourself trying to adopt that if it works for you in your gun. Here's some little specs on this scope for those of you unfamiliar with the Zero Compromise. It's made in Austria. From what I understand, some of the guys who used to work at Collis started this company, or at least just some of the guys who used to work at Collis will now work at Zero Compromise. So the scope is kind of got Collis features in terms of the way the zero stop works. I believe it's exactly the same in terms of you just dial with, you zero, you adjust your turrets, and then loosen the set screws, return it to zero, set the set screws, and you're done, right? That's the simple Collis way of doing it, and I like that. Of course, the 36 millimeter tube is kind of unique because not many people use 36. I think this is probably the first major scope manufacturer like that's using a 36 millimeter tube. 35 used to be pretty well used by several manufacturers, but 34 is the most common right now. 56 millimeter objective. You've got standard setup as far as elevation up top, windage on the right side, parallax, and the illumination knob on the left side. And you've got a throw lever built in there, which is really nice. You got your locking diopter. I'm trying to find the word for it. Locking diopter in the back end, which is easy to use. And I'm using the MPCT3 reticle, which is this deal right here. They have this nice little chart, and you can look it out online. It's a Christmas tree reticle. It uses 2/10 of a mil hash marks, which is what Collis uses as well for their Skimmer 3, which is what I have on my K525i. It uses this dot matrix style Christmas tree, so you have open dots instead of hash marks, which is what I believe the Skimmer 3 has. Then you have this little weird, like, kind of drop I don't know what you describe this, but I need to read into this because I'm not really understanding this. It's in inches too, as far as this kind of like little drop reticle at the very top. I can't really explain that to you, so I'm sorry. I haven't really read into it, to be honest. And but that's kind of what we have here. I bought this optic from MK Machining. Many of you know MK Machining because they have the they do the throw levers, and so when I bought it from MK Machine, they threw in a throw lever, which they make grid throw levers. I use these on my vortex scopes because those magnification knobs are so tight, and you need a throw lever. I mean, one of my Vipers, you can't even move the thing without like kind of muscling it, and you're getting out of position. So you definitely throw levers for the vortex scopes, like the Viper. But you don't need it for this because the mag on the magnification ring or adjustment knob is very smooth. It's got this consistent tension, and they already have a built-in like nub here or whatever for getting leverage, so you don't need to use the throw lever. So thanks to MK Machine throwing it in, but I'm not going to use it, to be honest. They did throw in this billet level, which is really nice. I'm not a fan of these levels on scopes because I got a level on this base here with the Spuhr. I got a level on this chassis, which aren't exactly lined up together, which, I don't know. Then you're gonna have to throw this level on top. And so you're gonna have 3 levels, and you're gonna sit here trying to get them all adjusted to be in line with another. And it feels like you're adding so much complexity. So I stopped using these things. I bought a Vortex one, and I said, I'm just gonna use them on the chassis. Because my thing is, I'm gonna level out the scope as best I can with the chassis, get that. I'm gonna set my chassis or whatever on a level surface. I'm gonna set up my scope on there on a plumb bob, and I'm gonna a string on a plumb bob or whatever, plumb bob on a string rather. Get all that lined up and leveled to this level on my chassis, and that's it. I'm gonna settle on that, and this is my reference point all the time. That's my personal thing, and I'm not like a hardcore like professional long range shooter, so that's probably the wrong way to do it. But it's worked for me so far. But granted, again, I don't shoot a lot of long range. Anyway, I digress. This is really cool. I'm probably going to try to use this thing at some point in time because I think it's a really nice. It's a billet aluminum level, scope ring. I don't even want to call it scope ring level, but it's a nice, really nice design. I think it's really cool. So I may or may not use this, but I'm going to keep it with this scope because it's a 36 millimeter as well. So I think it is 36 millimeter. It has to be, otherwise it won't fit. So anyway, I'm going to keep this. Thanks to MK Machining for that, and they also next day aired it to me, which was really nice. They threw that in there, and while granted I didn't get to shoot it that week after the next day aired it because I had a class and I had to run a match, so I didn't even bother to mount it then at that time. So anyway, enough talking. That's a little bit about the CCO. As far as the specs are concerned, I think we're zeroed. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna shoot one more group, and then I'm gonna actually set everything up as far as the actual zero stop, and then we'll do some shooting at 50 just to confirm some things, and then we'll set up a couple steel targets out there because I want to practice some holdovers to get a feel for the reticle, how it looks to my eye, because I've been shooting the Collis for about a year and a half, 2 years now, so kind of want to get used to this reticle as far as using it for holdovers. Let's take a quick look at this target. So the first shot of the day was this deal right here, and then brought it up to this point, shot a group, shot this group, and then I shot this group. So this is kind of where we're going to stay at here. I'm going to go ahead and set the zeros, or set the elevation turret and the windage turret at their zero for the zero stops, and then we'll shoot at that 50 that's it out there, and then we'll go from there. I think I already have a 100-yard steel out there, but I'm going to set probably 2 more targets, one at 75 and maybe one at 90 or something, or something on that nature, because I just want to test out the holdovers today, just do drills. If I read the instructions correctly, all I was supposed to do was go ahead and fire my groups, adjust my turrets correctly, and then undo the set screws, or sorry, lift it up, undo the set screws, then dial to the point where I need it at. So set my zero stop, and I'm supposed to just push it down to lock it in, as far as to make sure it's on the correct spot, as far as the teeth are concerned, and then go ahead and just tighten it up to 5 inch-pounds. I need to go get my my WEHA torque driver, because that one does fine, very fine torque for inch-pounds. Anyway, that should be set. I'm just going to go ahead and snug it up just a little bbit. And I would like to thank ZCO for using 2mm hex instead of the 1.5mm hex for their set screws, which is what Collis uses. I'm not a fan of that because I feel like those set screws are just too small, and it feels I'm going to strip them with any amount of torque. So I would thank ZCO for using 2mm, and it's a better size, because 2mm bits are easy to get. I had to go locate 1.5 WEHA bits online, and I have several of those bits just in case I lose them, but that should be close enough, snug enough right now, and I'll torque it later. But that's pretty much it for the elevation, and that should be set, and it's already done such that I have my 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10 negative, 5/10 negative down, so I can, you know, if the weather is different, I can, like it's colder and I need to get it's shooting below my normal zero, I can just dial down. So I have 5/10 of leeway here, which is really nice. And most quality scope manufacturers will include that feature there. So that's really cool. As far as the turrets are concerned, you can sort of hear them. I like the sound of them. I will admit though, I'm so used to Collis, because Collis does not have locking turrets, so I just turn them. And this is going to be an interesting thing to have to deal with, in terms of I'm used to using the Collis one, just turn them freely and I'm done, right? I can see why you want locking turrets, but for me, it's not a big deal not to have locking turrets. So, and I'm going to just run it through the entire range right here just to show you, but it's a really cool feature. You have this little kind of pillar that comes out to indicate like how many revs you're on, because it appears here that, I'll just walk through it here. When you're dialed down to your zero, you got 15 mils per rev. So when you come up to your first full rev, that knob pops out and you can see a ring. And there's a white ring, but there's a second white ring that's visible. So that means you're on your second rev. Then you got your next 15 mils to get you to 30 mils. So that's your third, you're on the third rev or whatever. So that's this. So you got that bright third white line there. And so you're going to use these numbers at the very top here, which you probably can't see on video, but I live here. I have 31. My scope stops at 31.3 mils, which is really cool. So that means I have 31.3 mils of adjustment. My Collis has 29 built in, and this one has 35 built in, but I'm able to use 33 of them. So, or 31.3 I said. Sorry, talking and turning. So it appears I have, yeah, 31, at least 31 mils, so 31.3 roughly, which is really cool. So anyway, let's dial this back down. Let's shoot. Let's just double check the zeros to make sure this actually returns to zero, which it should. And we'll shoot some 50 and some steel. And my magneto speed is finally working because I had adjusted sensitivity. We're looking at, according to this, that 10 shots were about average of 1082, which is a little bit lower than I would expect, 1082. I expect 1090 out of this ammo. Yeah, we're shooting high. Okay. I shot a confirmation group at 25 after I set my zero stops, but I shot some groups at 50, And it looks like we're favoring about 0.2 mil high above point of aim. We're getting a little wild here. I don't know, was this left or right here? Then I shot this group here, which is really nice. I don't know if you can see that, but that's a really tight group. I don't know, it's well under a dime. This is under a dime too, but it looks like I was aiming here, so we're about a 0.2 mil different over the above my 25-yard zero. Usually you expect your 25 and 50 to line up correctly. Don't know what to make of that. So what I could do is split the difference and come up a 1/10 of mil, and then so I can have kind of my 25-50 trajectory about the same, or I can just account for this, knowing that, hey, I have a 25-yard zero, which is set, but my 50 is going to be about 0.2. I'm going to run it through the Kester though, because like I might have said earlier that I'm running a 60-minute base, so that could be affecting the trajectory at 25 to 50 compared to something that's more flat. So that could factor in, and I am running the Spuhr 6002, which is it's a 1.5 inch above bore line, so the scope's is over an inch and a half. Sorry, it's an inch and a half tall for the base, so that could also factor in, plus whatever is the offset from the base itself. So I'm well above the bore line with the scope, so that could also factor in a little bit to trajectory. So that may make a difference 25 to 50, but we'll see. Well, it's not 100% correct, but according to my Kestrel, there's about a 0.8 of a mil difference between my 25 and 50-yard zero, which I would say it's a little bit more than that on paper, but I still need to factor in the height over bore, the correct height over bore. So according to this, just generic stuff, I set up a target at 75 and 100, and it looks like I need, based on the 1085 average I have this morning, 6.65 up on 75 and 1.68, so 1.7 on 100, which is about where I expect it to be with center X and this velocity, or these velocities rather. But I just want to get a feel for the reticle right now, so I'm just going to practice some holdover drills. I'm not going to dial elevation. And I can't remember what I just said earlier, but I think I said 1.7 or 0.7 rather. That was a hit. And I came off to the left. It's fine. A little wobbly on the tripod today. There you go. Getting some light hits on that target at 75. So I'm liking the open dots. It's an open dot for the Christmas tree reticle. It's really nice because you can actually see the target in the dot. So I think that is nice. It's a nice feature. Let's go up to 100 real quick. So I need 1.7, which is my normal. I just got to get used to this parallax again. I'm so used to going up top, so I need to make that part of my training, is to get that memory back for a traditional scope design. Oh, I'm actually out. So 1.7 roughly. Solid hits. Oh, I missed that one to the left. Shoot on the 2.5 inch target, slightly smaller. I missed it. Interesting. Missed twice. Should not miss twice in a row. There you go. So the reticle, I mean, the Christmas tree reticle is a Christmas tree reticle, right? But there are minute differences that do factor in how your eye perceives it. So I've been looking at the Kala so long, I just have to get used to this one. But I do like it. I like the 0.2 of a mil between each hash on the crosshairs. It makes it easier to use. I don't need a 0.1 of a mil hashes. I think that's just too fine. As far as the clarity of the reticle across the entire mag range is really nice. I mean, even the open dot at 5x magnification, I can still see the open dot and the target in there. So it's very clear, as long as I have the diopter set correct for my eye. I mean, it's perfect. Really nice, to be honest. I like this reticle. You'd think it wouldn't be very crisp with so many, with these open dots, but I think it's perfect. But let me grab the chart here real quick so you can understand what I'm talking about. So it's got these open dots or whatever here, and these are very clear, even in the 5x mag range. So I don't know, I'm liking it. I still need to figure out what the heck this does, but other than that, I think the reticle is pretty cool. Is it better than the Kala Skimmer 3? I don't know. I guess it's just personal preference. I could use either one. I think both reticles are great. But let me go and get some more rounds in, and then I don't think we're going to be shooting much. This is all I brought today because I just really wanted to get this thing dialed in. About to wrap it up for this morning. Pretty much did what I needed to do to get this thing sighted in. Very easy, it's very straightforward. Outside of that, so far very happy with this ZCO-527. And I'm gonna have I don't know if I'm gonna write a review on it, because who am I to do reviews on scopes? There's plenty of other people out there who are experts on optics who have more experience. Good look at Sniper's Hide, Frank Galley. He did one of the very first videos of the ZCO, or the Zero Compromise Optics 527. So check his video out. And he's done lots of tests on various scopes. So go to the experts on this type of stuff if you really need to know the difference between this, tangent theta, Schmidt and Bender, etc. Because I don't have any experience with those optics. I will tell you that right now, though. Compared to the Kalas, I mean, I've got like a year and a half behind, almost 2 years behind the K525i. That's a great scope. It didn't take me very long to get used to the controls because I had left side windage and parallax up top. But it's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to operating this traditional type of scope with parallax on the left, windage on the right, elevation up top, like normal. So as far as glass clarity, so far it looks great. I mean, there's not much to say here. I think glass clarity I'll get more insight into it when it starts to get 90 and 100 degrees out here. And if I go to Palmdale and I go on that range and I set up my steel targets at 500 in the heat, we'll see how that goes, because that's a great indicator, or that's a great test for me in the conditions I shoot in to make a comparison between this and my Kalas or maybe a Vortex in terms of the glass quality. I like the turret so far, etc. I mean, I'll write a little bit about this. I won't call it a review per se, and maybe I might just say review, but it'll just be my insights into this scope. I haven't even done one for the Kalas K525i, and to be honest, I wasn't going to do one because, again, I'm not an expert on optics, so who am I to do a review? I didn't even do tracking tests on my Collis. But then again, like I said, you got people like Frank Galley and Sniper Side. They've done tracking tests on all these different scopes, and I think they did one last year that got a lot of flack. But they did they did some sort of test between a bunch of scopes, a lot of user scopes that they got their hands on at classes, and I think like the Collis was like high up there or whatever, and like certain ones didn't compare as well, but they were still good. So go look at the excerpts on those. The Collis, I'm probably gonna do a write-up on it as far as my experience with that scope after a solid 1.5 to 2 years of use. I think that'll be a good write-up. It's just my opinion of it and how I like it in terms of controls and etc. That'll be more valuable than me trying to give you any sort of quantitative or qualitative review on the glass quality, because I can't do that. Anyway, aside from this and what happened today, couple things NRL 22 related. Number one, so there's no match in May. A lot of people reached out to me, always reach out to me about, hey, I want to learn more about NRL 22. Well, I'm like, well, why don't you just shoot a match? And people are hesitant to shoot the match, and I just feel like the whole word match, like that just leads to, oh, it's going to be hard, right? I'm like, a match is a match. I mean, you just go out there. A match is basically you to come out to shoot, and you just scored. It doesn't matter if you shoot last. Who cares? If you want to go learn about a discipline, then just go shoot the match. And no one's going to care or even criticize you if you do poorly. If anything, people are going to be trying to help you and say, hey, saw you did this. You might want to try this next time. Or this equipment you're lacking, it might work if you have this bag. Why don't you try mine next time on the next stage? Things like that. So I just feel like people just avoid shooting NRL 22 matches because they don't know it. And I'm like, well, we welcome you to come out here. If our concern is safety, and that's pretty much it, right? As long as you don't shoot anybody or cause any injuries or whatever, you'll have, we want you here. So we'll work with you, especially if you're new. But that being said, there is no May match. There's no NRL 22 May Course of Fire official one, because that's the championship month. I plan on having an open clinic / open shoot here on our fourth Sunday, because every fourth Sunday of the month is it's reserved for NRL 22 matches here at the Rimfire Range. Instead of shooting a match, what I want to do is just have an open clinic. I'll set up the props. That's what I plan on doing, setting up all the barricades or whatever that you use for the NRL 22 Course of Fire, at least for last year. I'm going to set up some targets, or a lot of targets, and I'm going to probably set up 1 or 2 stages which are reflective of what you need to do in NRL 22. And I want to set up stages that sort of emulate, or I might just use stages from the last season, right? That I think are reflective of the types of skills you need to exercise or practice in order to shoot well, right? And so that's what I plan on doing. I'm capping it to 10 people. If I don't get like 5 people signed up, then I'm just going to cancel and just refund the money. But it's like $5, I think. I'm going to do $5 registration, and that's it. And it's more for new shooters. If you're an experienced shooter, you're going to get bored. Unless you just want to come out here and you're not a member here at the West End Gun Club and you just want to shoot on the range. Okay, but I want this for newer shooters. Even people who've shown up to a couple matches and are still just trying to learn. This is who I'm orienting it for. And I'm no expert. Again, I'm not like a professional NRL PRS shooter, but I'll give you my insights and my experience, and I'll try to guide you in a good, in a proper way. And I'm not going to tell you the glaringly wrong things. I'm going to tell you things that are like my interpretations to certain things and how I like to do it, and how you might want to try it, but there's other ways to do it. So things like that. I want to show people how to shoot off barricades or whatever. What bags are used for, and just more about NRL 22. So that's kind of what I plan. So that's May, fourth Sunday of May. I don't remember the date off the top of my head. It could be like 23, 24, I don't remember. But it's the weekend before Memorial Day weekend. And 2, if you have not been paying attention, NRL 22 released the new rules for the 2021-22 season. There's a lot of changes, a lot of different changes, but there's the 2 main ones that are probably going to affect the shooters the most. Number 1, the base class price has been up to $1,200. my opinion is base class. I've already said that. I just don't like the whole concept of price, like how that's defined by price. But anyway, they increased it to 1,200, so that's going to allow more leeway in like what equipment you can use. Number two, the biggest difference is there's no equipment restrictions. So interpret that as you may, but from what I understand, that means there's no restrictions on bags, size of bags, number of bags. So this could end up becoming, I don't want to say it's going to be a gear race, but people are definitely going to start utilizing as much gear as they can to shoot a stage well. And frankly, I have no problem with that. I felt like NRL 22 should have just been a scaled down version of NRL where you could use all these bags, right? And I feel like you shouldn't restrict people from using bags just because you want to make it beginner friendly. It can be beginner friendly, but you can still have people use as many bags as they want. So, will I do much? Probably not. If anything, the only bag I'm probably going to get, which I don't have because I don't really participate in PRS or NRL, is the pump pillow, like that huge bag. Like I have a mini pump pillow, if you want to call it that. It's kind of like a, it's pint-sized version of that huge bag. But that's probably the only bag I would consider adding to my equipment. Is just, I would use that on a stage just to like put in between my arm and my body to get more support there when you're shooting off props. That's probably the only bag I'll use, and that's probably the bag that everyone will add to their NRL 22 kit if they were going to do that, because it's the most useful bag out there in terms of getting more support outside of your actual bag that you'll use for the barricade. But yeah, I'll definitely go check out those rules changes. There's a very few minor changes. It's more administrative, but I think the base class price cap increase and the equipment restriction lift is going to be the two changes that will impact the shooters the most. That's all I had really to talk about outside of just zeroing this gun or zeroing this scope. So that's pretty much it. Gonna wrap up, clean up all this stuff, and get out of here. I actually have to do some work stuff this morning. I gotta, IT, information security, working 24/7, 365. It just never ends. But once I get to cell coverage, I need to get on a call this morning. So anyway, that's it for today. Today's May 1st here at the Boresighting Gun Club. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next vlog.